Homeschool Awakening, documentary by Kurt Cameron. For those of you who don't know, he used to be a child actor. He's a devout Christian, does a lot of religious films and documentaries. So, of course, he's not liked by certain culture circles. But he's doing a documentary on homeschooling. And on Twitter, of course, we're seeing the standard, oh God, this crazy guy's talking about homeschooling. Oh God, what evil things do they teach their children in homeschooling? Well, I'm going to go through the trailer and give you my perspective as someone who's been teaching homeschool for 3 years. Let's get started.
We have to break through our kind of private idea that kids belong to their parents.
I don't think parents should be telling schools what they should teach.
I don't really understand this idea that parents should decide what's being taught.
Give me a break.
Well, for those of you who haven't been seeing, this has been something that has been going on now for a lot longer than I think people even realize. And I'm sorry about the squeaky chair. I need to get some WD-40 for it. But this has been an issue we noticed, my wife and I, quite a bit, is we were told many times to kind of, why are we so engaged? Why are we so involved? Why are we so interested in what's going on with our kid? You know, and this is with 3 children. So there was a lot of frustration. I saw the writing on the wall with this stuff 20 years ago, even when I was in school. I just happened to see it get a whole lot worse over time as my 3 children started going through school. And we'll go a little bit into that. And I'm not talking just one school. I'm talking multiple schools. I'm talking dozen schools across half a dozen states in one other country. I've seen a lot of the 42-year product of the Department of Education because I went through the Department of Education when it was created. So I'm a product of that. Before that, we did not have a Department of Education. Now we do, and we are seeing the results of having that central department.
I always viewed homeschooling as somewhat of a cult.
Quiet, reclusive,
the different people,
abnormal in some way.
I could never picture myself doing it.
Oh no, those are weird. I'm not doing that.
That was before we had...
That right there, folks, is not uncommon from what I've heard from people. They're like, how can you do this? That this is like, what are you, religious? Well, yes, I am religious, but that's not why we're homeschooling. You know, it's like we're all shut in, we're all reclused, you know, we don't socialize. You know, how are our kids getting adjusted with other kids they don't see all the time? There is a lot of that stigmatism, and it's seems like people mistake this as being more, how do I put the word, more restrictive than actual public school, which it's not. It's the complete opposite. It is one of the most free ways and most liberating ways you will actually ever get if you have the ability to do homeschool.
Kids. And then we had kids, and
all of a sudden time for school, and is this really what I should be doing? Dropping them off somewhere else.
And the teacher said to me, he would not cheat off of you because you are too stupid for him to cheat off of you. My kid is not going to have that experience.
We didn't have to be a special needs teacher. We only had to be a teacher of our daughter.
I really hate to say it, but this is not something I have been uncommon in seeing. When we started homeschooling our children, yes, it was a struggle at first. We had to learn how to, figure out how to be both teachers and parents, and then realizing, we've been doing this all our lives with our kids. This shouldn't be that difficult for us to figure out. And as the weeks and months went on, it became very organic, very natural. We went through actually several different teaching programs before we found the balance we thought would be the best for our kids. And my son did have special needs throughout school. And it was a struggle with the schools to get him what he needed. And then try to get feedback on that. And it was just a damn nightmare. Because it was like they would not give us the answers. And unfortunately, It's not always on the fault of the teachers. When you have 25, 26 kids in a classroom, or they're so big, that's crazy. I mean, it amazes me. You're very strict on your ratio of children you can have in a daycare per teacher in the daycare, but we just seem to drop off as many kids as we can in a classroom and tell the teachers to learn how to navigate it. And I think that's completely unfair and a detriment to both teachers and parents and children.
The kingdom of heaven is qualifying you to speak into your children's life.
I'm responsible for what we're putting into their head and into their heart.
It changed everything.
I think as a kid, you just want to feel like you're worth it. And homeschooling says you're worth it.
The freedom we had was so worth the small sacrifice it was to teach the kids. Now, 12 years later, I realize it wasn't a sacrifice. It was a total gift.
Homeschool at first, it can seem overwhelming. You're really thinking, can I do this? Especially with multiple children that are at different grade levels. Am I going to be able to teach 2 different grade levels? How am I going to navigate this? Am I going to have to do them both at the same time? Am I going to have to separate them out? Really, it comes down to what is most comfortable with everybody. Remember, this is a one-on-one ratio, and you're not going to be spending 8 hours teaching. Most of our classes with our kids, even if we do individual, one time, one the other, the average time is 90 minutes to 2 hours of actual classwork. It's no 8 hours because you're not having to try and teach 25, 26 kids. So they're not there for 8 hours, sometimes twiddling their thumbs when they have nothing to do. You get the schoolwork done, it's done with, and the rest of the day is pretty much yours. And our kids love that fact. Sometimes they'll want to get their schoolwork done first thing in the morning just so it's done. Have breakfast, do schoolwork, we're done. The rest of the day is pretty much mine. There's a lot of rewarding in that. And then also in the case of the freedom part, your vacation schedule is also yours now. You're not subject to the school's vacation schedule. You make your vacation schedule up. You make your holidays up. You make up if you're going to do, like we do now, Monday through Thursday. Friday is either a makeup or, say, a video day. Or maybe a day we go out to a historic site or something like that. So there is so much you can do and put into this that makes it worthwhile.
It's yours to shape.
You are the perfect person to teach them because you've been teaching your child since day one.
She made sure I had everything I needed. I love her so much.
No one's going to love our children more than we do.
The greatest gift that I was given was my own identity. My parents gave me that.
Go in with an adventurous spirit.
Break the mold. It's really beautiful outside the box. It's such a great adventure.
It truly can be a wonderful adventure doing homeschooling. It really can. There's so much involved in it, but it's so rewarding at times because you realize sometimes you're relearning things that you've forgotten for a long time. You're like, oh, I remember how to do this. Or you start learning something that you didn't even know, that wasn't even taught to you in school. I'm a big history guy. I love teaching history. I spent an entire year teaching Road to the Civil War and the Civil War. I really dug deep into what was going on between the North, the South, the West, and everything that was going on in it. And absolutely had a great time teaching it and finding different videos and documents that I could use in teaching with my kids for that year. So it is a lot of fun, and there's so much you can do. You can turn teaching how to cook something simple as a meal into a home ec class if you want to. And this is not cheating or half butting it. This is literally what you can do. And it's amazing when you realize the things you can add into it and where you can do these things versus just having them sit in a classroom or a standard classroom.
Isn't homeschooling like public school at home? Ha! Not even close.
That is a key point there. Homeschool is nothing like private or public school at home. This is your class. You're deciding the instructions. You're deciding how to pace it. You're deciding what is getting taught. Those are amazing things. And if you're really dedicated to it, you're going to turn into a wonderful teacher with your kids. And you're going to become an even better parent because of it. Because you're going to be around your kids so much more versus the way it is in a normal day. Getting up, getting the kids ready, breakfast, out the door, daycare, school, bus, whatever the case may be. There goes 8 hours of their day. They're with somebody else. You come back home from work, pick up the kids, they get dropped off. There's homework. There's, if they've got extracurricular activities, there's get dinner ready, get whatever you got to get done for tomorrow prepped up, homework, whatever. And then by the end of the day, everybody's exhausted and tired. And it's no wonder we're not spending as much time with our kids as we'd like, because by that point, you're just so exhausted. Whereas here, you're really focused with your kids on the time doing this. And if you take the time to kind of relax and just work with your child on things, you'll find it will be less stress than most of the time you intentionally fear when you initially start. There's going to be some stressors, yes, but not necessarily this idea or notion that this is going to be a constant stress. You're going to be constantly stressed out doing it. No. You'll actually find yourself not feeling as stressed because when you start to embrace it, you don't feel like you're working.